Yeah.
Hey guys, Tim DeLaughter here from the Polyphonic Spree, and you're listening to Two Guys Talking Rush podcast.
Guys are talking rush two 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 guys.
And now, get ready for the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast with your hosts, John Kane and Dan Buxton.
Yeah, I forgot doing some digging. I looked at how many musicians have been in your band. It's very impressive. Dan's like, there's like 700 people that are in and out of your band. And I mean, listen, it's
almost as many people as have been in Black Oak, Arkansas.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, and then I, digging, and I was just revisiting your music, and I forgot about songs like "Popular by Design." I love that so much, and then "Soldier Girl," and I'm like, oh, wonderful, just wonderful
thank
music. Thank you. And 20 years and going strong. Are you surprised that you're still going at 20 years?
Yeah, when you say it like that, I'm shocked. But it's the Spree has always been it's been a really comfortable band. And it people are amazed at how we're able to navigate such a large group. At one time we were touring with 30 people. That was including like a sound guy, light guy, kind of stagehand. 30 people. We'd have 2 buses, and we spent majority of our time like that in the UK and Europe. But what people would marvel at is how well we would move as such a large unit. We'd move as easy as a 5-piece band. And I think we always felt the weight of our group. And so we would all pull together and make things as fluid as possible. Whereas I guess other people would rely on other people to help out. There's no like organization on a band level. And I don't know. I think the fact that we all worked together made us seem to move on a smaller footprint, if that makes sense. But it's very expensive to run the Spree.
I was going to say,
financially, it's kind of exhausting, and that's pretty obvious. That's the only thing that's a bit debilitating about it is the financing of it. Trying to take it out on the road is pretty costly, but the logistics and all that are not that big of a deal.
I imagine the festival circuit has been the best way to sort of get the Spree out there and of course support you financially in a lot of ways.
The festivals help because you can book, you can have a couple of those on your tour, and the money you get from that helps to facilitate the smaller clubs that you're doing along the way. So it big time, it helps, I
saw a video. You guys were playing a church. I forget what church it was, but that was fabulous, and it's just so fitting, it was kind of interesting.
We've played a lot. We've played synagogues. We played church. Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So the music of the Spree, you guys have been, and again, I don't like classifications or labels, but there are a lot out there. The robed and vaguely cult-like Texas indie rock ensemble. Is that accurate, or is that who do you compare yourself to? I mean, who out of all the bands in history of rock music, is it like Jesus Christ Superstar? I mean, what is this?
I hate to say this, but I really don't think there's anything quite like the Spree. It's definitely its own thing, and it's so much more than I could have ever anticipated. It started off for an idea to try to create a sound, and it ended up becoming something way more meaningful and something that you really can't quite put your finger on. And it's a bit it's got a spirit about us, and I don't want to say spiritual, but it can feel spiritual, but it's a spirited energy that is cultivated by having these people together and creating this music. And what kind of just fundamentally happens by having these people playing this music together as a unit, something else is born that we all kind of discovered along the way many years ago. That happens. And obviously I've never been able to take myself out and watch the Spree as like a listener, but I can tell you the feeling on stage it's unique. And I've been in bands before the Spree. It's a completely different dynamic when you've got that much mind waves kind of floating around on the same page and get going. It's really
I imagine if you, with the quality of musicians, which seems like you have great musicians, that there's this sort of internal momentum that builds within the band that sort of carries itself. And it looks like a lot of fun on stage. I mean, I just want to jump up there and play the triangle. You know, I'll put on a fucking robe and play the triangle. I don't give a shit.
Hey, man,
I will.
That's not out of the realm of possibility.
If you see a giant guy with a rush hat jump on stage with a triangle and a robe, that's me, man. But
can anyone out there play the triangle?
I've done that before. It used to be like that. It's like trying to find people when that's not your bag. You know, it was like that after a show. Hey man, does anybody know anybody? We've had, theremin players because I wanted a theremin at some point. It's just been, it's been all over the map.
Did you, going back to one of my original questions, did you ever consider a different name for it?
Okay, so the name, no, I didn't. When the name came, I knew that was the name.
Okay.
And it's weird how it came about. So I'm in we're in our bedroom, and I just had a picture framed, and it was an uncut sheet of Wacky packages. You know, those stickers used to get in the 70s, they make fun of products.
Yep.
Well, I had an uncut sheet, and I had it framed that day. And I was trying to think of a name for the band at that particular moment, because we had to come up with a name, because they were like, well, who's the bill? We didn't have a name for the band. It's like, you're thinking 2 weeks to get this thing going. And I didn't have a name, but we needed a name. So my wife and I were just trying to think, and nothing's coming up, like literally nothing. And I had this framed picture sitting by the bed, and like the light from the sun was coming in, and it was gracing the picture, and it kind of just drew my sight to it, and I was lost in thought. I'm just kind of looking at it, and then I see this Poly on it for it was Polly want a cracker for denture cream, the Wacky pack, but it said Poly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And for whatever reason, when I saw Poly, I just said polyphonic. I go polyphonic spree, like a spree. Oh my God, that's it. Polyphonic. I'm like, started running around the house. But that's the name. That's the name of the band.
Yeah.
And my wife heard me in the other room, and I said, get online. And she's looking up, and she goes, it's available. I said, get it. That's it. That's the name of the band.
Nice.
And so that was it. Polyphonic Spree.
That's good. I used to have, someone gave me a Yamaha polyphonic keyboard. It was massive. I mean, it was probably like 8 feet long. It weighed like, 300 pounds. The thing was sick, man. It was amazing. Right. It was really cool. And it really kind of gave you those sort of crazy alien tones and sounds to it. Yeah, I totally love it, man. Well, I don't like Wikipedia, but sometimes you got to go to it. I don't know how accurate it is, but it mentions this sort of these references certain bands that attribute your sound, like the Beatles. We hear some of that, the Association, Fifth Dimension, Wings, of course, Electric Light Orchestra, the Beach Boys, obviously. But then they say the vocal style of Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. And you have a unique voice, man, and I dig it. And Ozzy also. I mean, I grew up listening to. I worshipped Ozzy, and
me too.
I know, I loved him. My walls were plastered with all of his posters, and just loved Sabbath and all those albums. And I thought like, wow. And then getting into the covers as it relates to the covers, because you guys do wonderful covers. I'm thinking like, wow, think of, my favorite Sabbath album is Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and how symphonic. I mean, that is a symphonic album. You guys could easily cover like, Killing Yourself to Death, or is that the song? Am I getting that right?
Kill Yourself to Live.
Kill Yourself to Live, and not The Thrill of It All, but Spiral Architect. That's the one.
Right.
Like, you guys, that's the one you guys need to cover. But is that accurate? I mean, you have a unique voice, and
you hit the nail on the head. Ozzy was a huge influence on me. Back in my younger days of doing the cover, we did a lot of Black Sabbath and Ozzy, Blizzard of Oz songs off. My last band, Tripping Daisy, covered I Don't Know. I loved how Ozzy's voice, and also John Anderson from Yes, but I like how my voice is kind of high, and when I sing, it's just I'm just in that world, Geddy Lee, John Anderson, Ozzy Osbourne. But what I loved about Ozzy is the way he would glide it's like a like it uses it in like a gliding way.
He really does,
rather than, I don't know, and that always appealed to me because I would sing in a fan, and if you've ever sang in a fan and you hear it coming back to you, it's a cool effect. And I used to do that just for hours. As a little kid, I would sing in the fan and get that feeling. And Ozzy kind of equated that when he would sing. I loved how he glided his melodies like that.
Yeah, man.
So that pretty much solidified my vocal styling was Ozzy Osbourne. I've always sang with vocal effects, and I do that like a double chorus, and I also double my vocals. But I do it because it helps me fulfill that circuit of gliding melody, almost like a current that happens. That I like to ride, and I owe it all to Ozzy. He was a massive influence on me vocally.
What an incredible front man. Every now and then I'll revisit my youth and spark up some stuff, and then spark up some Ozzy on the YouTube, and just be like, wow, just in his heyday, he was just so amazing. What a great. He was just born. He was born for the stage. I mean, just this no question. Yeah.
It was just it was in him. It was inevitable.
So great. So great. So how do you manage with all of the parts to this? How do you manage recording an album? I know you do that. You're often in the studio or putting out music. How do you get everybody together? I mean, it's easier these days because of the accessibility of digital media, but how is that difficult, or is it, what do you do?
You know what? This particular record, this covers record, I'll use this as an example. It was, this was never meant to be, we never thought we were going to release this to everybody. This was, we were scheduled to play a show that was going to be all covers, these covers. And we had rehearsed them like for a month. And we rehearsed the night before we were supposed to play the show. That was canceled because of COVID, because it was right at the very beginning of COVID where people are like, shit, should we open? Should we have a show tonight? Everybody didn't know. And it was right. We were right at the precipice of that conversation where people are like, damn, I don't know if we should do it. Should we? I don't know. And then the club owners and ourselves came up with a decision not to play. And then little did we know the whole world was going to change after that. But we were like, well, fuck. I mean, we're so well rehearsed. We've done so much work. We've been around each other. So if one of us has it, we've all got it. It's too late. So we might as well just go and document this so we can remember our parts and get back to where we were when we do have to go back and play again. And that's basically what it was. It was just kind of a tool. So we just set up in our rehearsal space, put some mics up. I had a friend of mine record us, and we were all here. We had, and how we rehearsed, like I have the strings and the horns in this room. I'm at the triplex right now. This room is kind of a control room, but we have the strings and horns up here. And then downstairs, the core band is down there. Let me show you.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
okay. So the core band, is down here.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool, man.
Nice.
So
nice.
this is where the core band is in here. And then we have a percussionist that's usually over here. And then the choirs are here in the kitchen. And then we'll have a harp player in the back, back there. So it's they're kind of all over the place, but we have a snake that brings the mics down and we mic everybody up and we just play.
Nice.
And so we did all those songs, all those cover songs on that record. Gene Wilder. We did all the songs on that cover record in about 10 hours. Just went through, and the Rush song was the first take that we kept. So,
well, I was going to say that, you know, that is, and I have that in my notes that you recorded this very quickly, and but you guys have been doing covers all along. I mean, wasn't there, in my research again, there was an EP called "We Hope It Finds You Well," and then that has a short life, and then you pull it, and then you go for the bigger. How do you say a flatus?
Yeah,
okay.
a flatus. Yeah,
a flatus. Yeah. But you've been covering, and I've seen so many of your covers of Nirvana's "Lithium," wonderful. The Porpoise song by the Monkees, of course.
Yeah, the Porpoise song is kind of, we've made that our song. I mean,
it's so good.
We actually played that song with the Monkees, believe it or not, in the UK.
Wow.
I mean, I say the Monkees, it was Mickey and Peter, and then the band, you know. But at a festival in Birmingham, I want to say it was the Mosley Festival, but they had heard that we played the Porpoise song and we were playing the same festival, and they asked us if we wanted to come up and play the Porpoise song with them.
Wow. That's so cool.
Did. But their whole outro, if you listen to our version, we added a whole nother section with different lyrics on there.
Right.
And it's just because it just fell into it. And I wanted to come up. It just happened. Like we were stretching it out, and I started improvising lyrics, and it ended up becoming just part of the song. And we've always played it like that for at least 10 years now. Well, so that's why that one's going to be on there. But yeah, we've done cover songs for 20 years. We've always popped one here and there because this band can kind of go anywhere it wants to musically.
Well, I was going to say, you know, why wait until now to finally put out a cover song? And it's, I guess it takes a pandemic to force you to do that, right? But hey, that's quite an honor to be invited up and have original members of the Monk. I mean, I grew up on the Monkees, you know, we all did. So just to be able to do that is incredible.
Oh, dude, it was pinch me, slap me. I can't believe I'm doing.
So they must have loved it, because I heard Mickey Dolenz is somewhat of a stickler, and I'm sure he really loves your take on it. So that's really cool. So yeah, good.
He's been awesome and a good friend. We became friends from there, and we stayed in contact.
So cool.
He's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, people underestimated the Monkees, I think, you know, in their talents and all that. Yeah,
without a doubt.
Yeah, big time, man. Sadly, anyway. But the track list, you record this in an evening, and the track list is you have an In Excess cover, "Don't Change," which is great. You Put My Love Out the Door, Daniel Johnston cover, "She's a Rainbow," of course, wonderful treatment. "Run to Me" by the Bee Gees, the Porpoise song by the Monkees. "Could It Be Magic," Barry Manilow, which is interesting. And I'm glad you put an ABBA song on there, because Dan and I both absolutely love ABBA. My daughter, 5-year-old Alice, she loves ABBA. She was brought up on ABBA. We cranked that shit up. Let Him In, Wings, Never My Love. And you end it with "The Spirit of Radio." And I want to ask you, when you put that out, let me tell you, we heard about it through the Rush community. Did the Rush community reach out to you and say something to you or respond to you?
Well, I saw some of the some of the comments on YouTube, I guess, when it went out there, of some real hardcore Rush fans, and you know, they were kind of beaten up. Honestly, I think people misunderstood the
treatment.
It wasn't. I mean, this, like I said, it was more of a nostalgic kind of reason for me. I think they thought we were a bunch of millennials trying to do a Rush cover. I don't think they realized that. No, I was a huge fan of these guys, and I covered them when I was a teenager, and I just wanted to see if I could do it now. And it was all fun, you know. We never even played this cover live, but when you start treading into that world of a band like Rush, and you've got some fans out there that completely like don't mess with Rush. This is fun, whatever, but this is da 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 da. Yeah. And I'm just like, for me, it was just a fun thing to do and a nostalgic reason, Yeah,
of course.
Some of them liked it, but I think for the most part, I don't think it was really well received. I don't know.
A lot of Rush fans, and I don't think any of them would necessarily disagree with what I'm going to say, but a lot of Rush fans have taken shit for liking Rush like their entire lives. Right. Since they were like 12 years old. And there's this kind of like automatic protectiveness that a lot of them have, to the point where if someone wants to cover one of their songs, they'll automatically assume it's a gag. They're fucking with us somehow.
Oh, right.
But then like, if you can get them to like calm down and be like, no, this is tribute, then they'll listen again and be like, okay, these guys are cool. But there's in a lot of cases there's this kind of like reflexive, what are they fucking with us, kind of thing.
Exactly. Not at all.
You may have encountered some of that. I've been on the other end of it too, and I'm a fan, so
but that's why we do the show, Dan. It's like we've had an artist on. His name is Jacob Moon. He does a wonderful acoustic cover of Subdivisions. It's not like the original Subdivisions. No. I love that song. It's one of my favorite Rush songs. I don't expect it to be like Subdivisions. It's just someone's interpretation of that. So, I have to say, be a good researcher, be a good historian, and try to understand in what context the song is being put out. So those people who leave the comments, maybe they don't know the Polyphonic Spree. This is why we have you on the show. This is why we talk about your origin story, because you are like us. You were an original Rush fan. You're an original rock and roll heavy metal fan, just like Dan and I. And that's the thing. But
also not every comment that is left on the internet has been fully thought through. This is my take on so a lot
of stupidness out there.
Don't worry about it too much. That's all I would say about it.
There was no irony whatsoever in curating this set list at all. I consider every single one of those songs massive influences on myself and some of the members of the band, and that's just
you can't work with 30 people ironically. It's not possible. You can work with 2 people ironically, but and especially for that
man, and you think Rush fans have been bashed for liking Rush. You should talk to some Spree fans for liking Spree. I mean, we're clearly out there on the outer fringes of rock and roll culture.
We've been Rush shamed all our lives, man. We're
many times
down. But I'll tell you, the spirit of radio is it's not easy to create a Rush song. It's hard, and Rush fans measure people creating these covers by their musicianship. If you do that for every song and every Rush tribute band, you're going to be disappointed. Don't do that. Just take it, listen to it. But my thing is this: just by you doing that, it opens up the potential for what other Rush covers you could do that would match the style of the Spree. That song is symbolic to what you like, but imagine the potential with that huge catalog, this era of Rush that was heavily synthesized. I mean, you guys could probably do so much bigger Rush tunes symphonically than the Spirit of Radio. It might not just be the right song, in that way.
Exactly. I mean, that's something you find out too when you're doing these covers, is like there's so many, and it's like whatever moves you at that. So much of anything is like where you're at that moment in time, at that millisecond when you make a decision or when you decide to write something in the comment. It's like it's so rooted in where you are in that moment.
Totally.
And it's like if you really go to digest, like I want to find the perfect a Rush song to do, it's not really like that. It's kind of like, oh, this memory popped up, man, I used to do freaking Rush, Spirit of Radio. We don't want to do that, and it's kind of like, it's just like that. It's so like non really thought out or anything. It's just, it is what it is. But once you get in it, you realize, oh my God, there's so many ones that would be perfect, or this, we could kill
Absolutely.
this song. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But it's just,
I could think of a dozen right now. But
right.
let me ask you, when did you first encounter Rush? Was that the first song so getting into your Rush origin story, when did you first hear Rush and sort of say, wow, this is different and I like it?
So I would say it was 78, something like that.
Oh, wow.
79, somewhere in there, where it kind of started happening. And again, you know, I could only get music through other kids that were maybe dialed into things, or older kids than me that knew, you know, that had digested certain music. And then you had kids around you that were really music fans, and you had kids around you who couldn't give a shit about music, and they would just get whatever they could get on the radio and do their thing. So I was lucky enough to have a couple kids that had a real passion for music that they were really into, that were older than me, that turned me on to stuff. So like, and to this day, I saw Moving Pictures, and it was, to this day, that's the best sounding concert I've ever seen in my life.
I was going to ask you, did you just see them live? Did you see?
Yeah, I saw them live in Dallas at Reunion Arena, and it had a profound effect on me when I saw it. And to this day, I've not heard anything at a concert, live concert, big concert, arena concert, that sounded like that. And I've gone to, tons of shows. I've been to a lot of shows. I've played a lot of shows and seen a lot of artists. And for whatever reason, that I always use that particular show as like the quintessential live sound of arena rock. It's always hit me that way. But once we got into it, we were doing all sorts of, we weren't just listening to Rush. Like I said, it was all that whole era of music at that time.
Yeah.
Rush was part of it. Black Sabbath was part of it. Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Ozzy, all those bands were kind of in that same era, because it was that time period when heavy metal was so big, and early Def Leppard, On Through the Night.
Good stuff, man.
That's, those records were the records that we were playing, British Steel. We do a couple songs off Judas Priest records. And it was just where we were at, and the community I was in this rural kind of suburban area. All the bands were playing heavy metal covers. That's just what everybody did. And we were pretty damn good for being, 17, 18-year-old kids at that time, putting on these shows. But and Rush was part of that group of music that I was listening to. Did
you dig the era of Rush where they sort of got heavily with synthesized, post Moving Pictures into Signals and Grace Under Pressure and all that era? Did you like that?
I did. 2112 is still like, the one that does it for me, but yeah, I did. And I don't want to say that I completely dove in, and I did, because I didn't, it's just kind of like, it was just passing. 2112 was different, because that record just kind of blew my mind when I heard that for the first time. But I mean, and some people say it's a concept, some people don't, and I don't know what to believe. But for me, as an album as a whole, it's mind blowing.
Is that your favorite? Is that your favorite Rush album? Would you say, if I was to ask you what your favorite Rush album is, do you have?
I would say I've had more moments of just rocking my ass off to that record more than anything.
Yeah.
Now, is it my favorite? Because there's so many other songs that I like, and like I told you, Moving Pictures was like, one of the best sounding concerts I've ever gone to to this date. So I like a lot of them, but I would say rocking out with my buddies that were listening to it when we were kids, that one still does it. I get in the car and I'm slamming my head and dun 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 dun. I mean, we're going. And I love the epic dynamics of the quiet dynamics I like the storytelling and how it's just so, I love it, I love it.
I could probably see the Spree doing 2112.
I could see that too. Yeah, I mean, my voice, obviously I can't hit some of those notes, and it's real depressing for me at this point, because my my musicianship is mature enough to take something like that on.
Yeah.
But my
vocals are hard.
It's just not there, you know?
I think Getty's feeling the same way, man.
He can't hit those notes anymore. No. Yeah.
You know, interesting, Geddy Lee. So my band, Tripping Daisy, there was some press that came back to me. This was early 90s, 93, 94, somewhere in there, 95. That they asked Geddy Lee what he was listening to, and he said Tripping Daisy.
Cool.
I'm an Elastic Firecracker. So I was like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
That was like so huge for me.
That's massive, man. That'll keep you going in rock and roll right there, man.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another interesting fact. My bass player, Mark Pirro, is the creator of the Copper Phone. And it's the microphone that looks like a little copper pipe that you've seen Geddy Lee sing in.
Yes.
My bass player is the creator of that microphone, and Geddy Lee owns a couple of them and uses them on tour.
Wow. That's very cool, man. Amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible. So what, obviously the pandemic hits, you create this wonderful cover album, and pandemic sort of maybe is hope. There's some hope here. Maybe it's lifting. What are plans for Polyphonic Spree? I did read that you are working on an album for the fall, or what?
Yeah, we've been working on it for quite some time now. So we're in a bit of a pre-production right now, just trying to get it organized and arranged of how we're going to approach it. Probably going to start in early June to record it. And it's been our first real studio release of original material in 7 years, something like that.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to getting it out there.
Any changes? Is it in the vein of your style still, or is it bigger?
I think that it's having me sing it is kind of keeping us rooted in across the board. The music there's still and who I am as a person, I hate to say me and all this stuff, but I do write the songs and it does radiate from there. Yeah. But you do have different members, you do have different instruments that are in the band that help shape what's going on. But there's always an element of optimism that's with the Spree, and that's been there from the very beginning. That is kind of like how I navigate myself through life. I got to find something that we can overcome any situation. And that tends to be the case throughout all the lyrical content of the Spree. Mixed with that music, the sonic music kind of makes this sound of what we're all about. But it's going to be a bit of a journey. It may be borderline of a concept record, which we haven't put out before. Cool. Speaking of concept records, but I'm looking forward to it. There's a definite theme there, and I don't know. I'm kind of excited. We'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, I find your music hopeful and uplifting. I think that's what the world needs right now. So I think it'll be welcomed, man. I did want to mention, any interviewer probably brings this up, but your song "Reach for the Sun," I mean, huge hit. I mean, that was a big hit for you guys. I mean, I've heard it in so many different variations of movies and things like that. How do you feel about that, having your song just show up in a movie or a show or whatever, man? Dude,
I mean, I love it. It's kind of what's helped keep this band going. A lot of the money made off that has gone back in the band. I have 4 kids. It's helped. Life is hard to make money for the Spree. So when you can have a song like Light and Day that kind of comes along and does what it does, it's huge. Now the irony is I didn't want to put that song out on the record when we were putting together beginning stages because I thought that the tempo was too fast for the record. It just to me, it just stuck out, and I thought it was just wrong, that it wasn't going to work. And my wife basically said, that song is on the record. You're crazy. It's just, you're not in control of this. It's going on the record. And I'm like, all right. So we just left it on there, and it turns out to be the most popular song we've had.
I know. I love that, man. I love
that kind of a story has been, repeated throughout the annals of the arts. Like,
the almost didn't do it story.
Well, there was one story about Stephen King where he wrote the whole manuscript for his book Carrie, And he was like, "Oh, this sucks," and he threw it away. And his wife is like, "You need to get this published," and then that was his big break, and all that. Yeah. We sometimes need our wives to be like the voice of reason and be like, "I think you're fucking up there, and you might need to." Yeah,
exactly. I wish I've there's been so many times, because I used to throw away songs left and right.
Yeah.
Because as a songwriter, it's kind of, for me, it's like once I kind of experienced the song in my head and the feeling that you get from it, it's kind of like I would just discard it. Like it's already been experienced, even though no one's even heard it. But it was, for me, it's like, I got what I wanted. This is great. I'm fucking bored with this. Let's move on. I can't tell you how many songs have gone by the wayside with that kind of mentality. And it's so weird, but it's just, I don't know why. It's because it's, at the end of the day, all of this is always, for me at first, and then it goes out for everybody else.
That's common for a lot of artists. There are a lot of artists where it's like that's just kind of how they work. Is like they work on something, like, no, not that, they throw, but eventually it comes together, but just their process is a little more like crazed and up and down. And then you have other people who are like, it just comes and there's no problem.
And there's no problem. And they have,
we're not all like that though,
Yeah. And they have no problem feeling maybe recognizing that they have figured out a formula, so to speak, and they're okay with embracing that and moving into that. Where someone like me, if there's any sense of like formulation going on, I immediately shut down and discard it, because it's like, we've already done this. We need to do something new and different. And that is your worst enemy for someone like myself, especially if you're prolific, a songwriter at a young age. There could have been tons of records and things that could have come out that, all been shot down because of that kind of thinking, and it's why we have so much time periods between records. I'm my worst enemy when it comes to stuff like that. It's just, once I kind of experience it in my brain, I kind of move on, and it's like, wait a minute, douchebag, no one's even heard this before. What are you doing? But
no one who matters has heard it before.
Yeah,
you've heard it
like,
before. So
so it's like, what are you in this for? And it's like, at the end of the day, this music and this life just saves me, and that's what it's about. And then the bonus is, if you're a music lover and it works for you, then it's good for you,
Yeah.
And that's what I've realized. I didn't realize that I was making music for other people at the time. I thought I was making it for myself.
Well, it's impressive. This will be your 7th album. And I just realized you had a holiday album, and I got to get that, because I did hear you cover a Christmas song before, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together, or a holiday song. And I should pick that up. That's cool. Was that a good hit, a good successful effort for you guys? It seems like a good fit for the Spree.
Well, it totally made sense. We've been doing we do a holiday extravaganza. This is our 18th year that we've been doing it. So we do a massive holiday show, which is a total spectacle here in Dallas.
Oh, I love it.
And it's like a variety show that lasts, good 4 or 5 hours. It's all over the place. There's, the zoo comes in, brings in animals. It snows in there. There's people on stilts walking around. There's characters from Dickens. There's Rudolph and Frosty walking around. By the end of the night, you're walking around in 3 foot of white confetti because it's been snowing all night.
Nice.
We serve cookies and milk. So we kind of own holidays around here in Dallas, the Spree. And so it just made sense. Like, man, we got to put out a Christmas record. So we did the Holiday Dream.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm going to definitely pick that up. Oh, well, what, and a couple more questions. What's the plans for the Spree? Another 20 years? What are you thinking about, man?
Well, you can't plan a good time. So, I think that, I never in a million years, like I told you guys earlier, would have thought we'd have been going for 20 years. It's just something that just kind of happens. And then I got to the point of thinking, man, I could do the Spree forever. I really could. I love the Spree. There's dynamically speaking, sonically speaking, can kind of go anywhere we want. And it's kind of a nice scenario to be able to do that at any age. And so as long as people are still into it and we can get invited to festivals and play tours and people buy our music, and, you know, we support our own records. We do crowdfunding to make our records these days. The Spree's been on 8 different major labels, if you can believe that.
Yeah, actually, I can believe it.
Amazing.
So we've succumbed to just funding our records ourselves at this point. And as long as that continue to happen, then we'll continue to go. I don't see a reason why to ever put a limit on it unless I just physically can't do it anymore.
I suspect whether the band lasts another 10 years or another 20 years, that, you know, you're creating this body of work that will be looked upon as wonderful. So at some point down the road, future generations are going to look back and be like, wow, this was so cool, you know? So
I hope so.
I think so, man. Congratulations on your accomplishments, man.
Thank you very much.
Well, I want to just say thank you so much for coming on to Two Guys Talking Russian. Where can folks buy a flatus?
So I think you can get it all streaming platforms, and then I think you can get it on the Spree's website. Bandcamp, you can get it on Bandcamp.
Okay.
I mean, where the hell do you buy music these days? For crying out loud!
I know the record store, man.
Yeah, well, the good records come to our record store. Good records. So we're gonna print it on vinyl for our fans first. Cool. And then it'll be available for everybody else. And we're going to do a CD as well. But like I said, this thing was just for us so we could figure out not to lose our parts when we go back to play the show. So we're kind of fumbling our way through it because it really wasn't planned to be this big record release. It's just kind of something that happened. But I'm glad it did, and people seem to like it. So
I've heard good things.
It's available.
Yeah, totally, man. And you know, we really appreciate it. And what's the website for Polyphonic Spree? What is your website?
It's www.thepolyphonicspree.com, I think.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tim DeLaughter, thank you very much for coming on the Two Guys Talking Rush, man. Be safe.
Enjoyed it, guys.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks for coming on.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Cool. Tim DeLaughter.
Gloriousness.
I feel like he just looks like he's 19 years old. The dude's like wicked. Like he's probably the same age as us, and we look old next to him, man. I know.
I did a little sleuthing, and he actually has a couple of years on us.
I know.
But I don't know. He just has this like glee at all times.
I know.
That, you know, most people lose by the time they're like 22.
Where the fuck did my glee go?
Somewhere, I don't know, 30 years ago you fell off the back of a truck and you never saw it again.
I want my glee back.
Yeah, glee is nice.
Glee, where are you?
Where are you, glee?
Glee. But yeah, you know what's interesting too, Texas, right? So think of all the incredible bands that came out of Texas. You know, Blood Rock, ZZ Top. Those guys. I'm just kidding. Pantera, yep. And Rocky Erickson and 13th Floor Elevators. There's sort of a grit that comes out of Texas. You know,
totally. That in like a few different genres of music too. It's like it's kind of identifiable in you know, like outlaw country owes a lot to the state of Texas. It's there's just something a little different about it. Yeah. And my friends who live there could tell you the same thing, that there's something in the water, but they mean it in a good way.
Yeah. Well, that interview was you know, long overdue, and we want to thank Tim for joining us on Two Guys Talking Rush and sharing his thoughts and sharing his story. You know, he gave us a really good backstory on his journey, which is, you know, very meaningful. And of course, what Rush meant to him and what all the bands that we sort of love. I think we probably could have talked you know, longer. I know, like you just go on and on and on with these people, but you know, with someone like him who's gone on to do to acclaim, you know, to a certain extent, a fair amount of fame in his journey as a professional musician, at the root of it, at the origin of it all, it's just a fan just being a giant, even bigger fan of music.
Absolutely.
That's sort of what drives him. It's like, I want to create incredible music like, you know, the people I love so much. So right on to Tim DeLaughter, and thank you for coming on to Two Guys Talking Rush. Well, there it is, folks. Another incredible episode of Two Guys Talking Rush. My name is John Kane.
I am the delightful Dan Buckspan.
And what can I say, folks? Rush
rules.
Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys.